Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. In today's live session, let's discuss the important economic articles which have appeared between 22nd to 28th of January 2022. Let's begin the discussion. The first very important article is related to promotion of drone usage in agriculture sector. Now, some of you might be thinking, sir, haven't you already discussed the concept of the advantages of drone technology in the agriculture sector in the last couple of months? Yes, you are absolutely correct. We have in fact discussed what is the reason why government is promoting the application of drone technology in the agriculture sector and the advantages related to that. That is one part of the discussion. What is the other part of the discussion that we are going to have now? Very recently, two very important points here. One, Government of India has announced Standard Operating Procedure SOP, Standard Operating Procedure for usage of drones in the agriculture sector. That is the first point. And second, in order to promote more and more usage of technology, that is a drone technology in the agriculture sector, government has amended one of the very important schemes in the agriculture sector, that is SMAEM. Okay, that is the submission on agriculture mechanization. Now, important points are these. Very often you discuss one of the issues in the agriculture sector is that the labor usage is very high in case of India, and usage of technology, that is in terms of mechanization, is very low. In Western Europe, USA, mechanization levels in the agriculture sector are said to be somewhere in the range of 95%. Whereas in a country such as India, human labor usage is very high, and as a result of various issues in the agriculture sector, the usage of technology or mechanization is on a lower side. Generally, the number that is quoted, agriculture mechanization, is around 40% in Indian agriculture sector. In order to promote more and more mechanization, various reforms have been taken by the government. One such measure, or let's say the scheme that was introduced by the government in 14 and 15 was submission on agriculture mechanization. And very recently government has made certain changes or has amended the scheme program and has allowed provision of a large amount of incentives for various stakeholders in the economy or in the agriculture sector, so that they will use more and more drone technology in the agriculture sector. Now, some of you might be thinking, sir, what kind of application will the drone technology have? Best example is application of fertilizer, application of insecticides, pesticides, etc. Right? The time taken is much lesser, the cost is much lower, and generally the fear amongst these particular people who are involved in spraying is, what if there is animal attack in the field? What if I am infected by one of the, let's say, pest or some microorganism in the field, etc. And another issue is availability of labor itself in the current situation. And to overcome all of these particular issues and to promote usage of technology in the agriculture sector, government has basically announced incentives for the stakeholders. What kind of stakeholders I am referring to here? Individual farmers who are involved in agriculture sector. If they purchase this particular drone, certain amount of incentive shall be given by the government. The CHCs, that is a custom hiring centers. CHC stands for custom hiring centers, farmer producer organization, Krishi Vigyana Kendras, etc. Different amount of incentives have been announced by the government for different types of organizations here. Should you mug up all of these particular incentives? Not required for UPSC. For example, in certain cases, for every hectare where the drone will be used, 6,000 rupees worth of incentive has been announced. In certain segments, 100% of incentives have been announced, etc. So, the amount of incentives announced by the government will vary from one type of the stakeholder to another type. Should you mug up all of them? Not required. What are the important points you should remember? One, there is a scheme by the name of SMAEM, and the scheme has been amended to announce incentives for these kinds of stakeholders now. And second, the government in the month of December has actually come out with standard operating procedure if the drones have to be utilized in the agriculture sector. Now, what are the important points in the standard operating procedure? For example, if you are going to use the drone to apply insecticide, that is spray the insecticides on the field as such, the certain amount of a height has to be maintained, that is the aerial spraying has to be done at a particular height that has been given as a condition here. The pilot who is actually operating the drone must be certified by the DGCA authority, right. In addition to this, if you are going to apply the aerial application of these particular insecticides or pesticides, you will have to use only the approved formula of insecticides board. Remember this particular authority, Central Insecticides Board. Generally you don't come across this particular authority for UPSC, but suddenly because of this particular the SOPs, the Central Insecticides Board will come into picture, and this is a statutory body. I repeat, CIB is a statutory body. Remember this. Initially Government of India passed Insecticides Act, then came out with insecticides rules in 1971, and after that basically set up this particular Central Insecticides Board, and this particular CIB is responsible for basically giving recommendations in what combination or formulation you are supposed to apply these particular insecticides, and even basically dividing or let's say classifying these particular insecticides based on the toxicity is the responsibility of CIB. So this particular authority becomes very important because of this particular drone technology in the agriculture sector. Please be very, very careful. Going back to the discussion here, SOPs, right? What are the other different very important SOPs? Imagine you're basically going for aerial application of the insecticides now. 24 hours before the application, through the designated authority, you will have to notify the public. You will have to basically tell the public that you are applying the insecticides in this particular region at this particular point of time, right. And all of these are very, very important in promotion of usage of the drone technology in the agriculture sector. So these are the three very, very important points associated with this particular article. Now based on this, I have given a question. Consider the following statements. 1. Drones to be used in agriculture spraying must be DGCA approved or certified, right. DGCA basically is the name of the authority, Director General for Civil Aviation. So DGCA authority, should it be involved in this particular drone technology? Yes, it is actually involved, and this particular statement is true. Remember this, as per standard operating procedure issued by the government. First statement, true. Second, pilots who are actually flying these or operating these particular drones must also be DGCA certified. Yes, this particular statement is also true. Both of these are nothing but the two very important points within the SOP issued by the government. So based on this, the right option will be option C, both. I have given a descriptive question also. Explain some of the recent technological applications in the agriculture sector in 250 words. Right, I have given a very straightforward question. He might simply twist this particular question and ask you, right, to basically come to these particular technology application in the agriculture sector itself. For example, in the last couple of years, what kind of technologies are there in the discussion related to agriculture sector? And please remember this, agriculture sector for UPSC mains is very, very important. You have seen the recent mains based question paper, you will realize this, agriculture sector very, very important. I have listed some of the technologies here. For example, application of drone technology now, just now we have discussed. Second, nano urea, which was there in the newspaper in the last couple of months. Third one, e-national agriculture market. Agri stack, which is a proposed tool by the government of India, which will basically cover all the farmers within the Indian agriculture sector as such. Bhu Parikshak, one soil testing tool, or Mruda Parikshak, another soil testing tool. Promotion of a micro irrigation, which is nothing but application of technology itself, or even for that matter, the storage in silos, which is nothing but application of technology in the agriculture sector itself. I have listed around 7 here. Even if you write 2 lines or let's say 20 words or 30 words on all of these particular 7 technologies, I am pretty sure you will be able to easily meet this particular 250 word limit. Done? Let me go to the next article. The concept of apprenticeship. Apprenticeship revamp is being discussed in this particular article. Now, first and foremost, some of you might be thinking, sir, what do you mean by apprenticeship? If I want to simplify the concept of apprenticeship, imagine here is a particular person, he wants to work in a particular industry or in a particular manufacturing company. For that particular purpose, he needs two things. One, he needs to have certain amount of a knowledge, that is a theoretical knowledge should be there. In addition to that, if he also has let's say the application knowledge or let's say the practical application of this particular knowledge, then definitely yes, the absorption of such labor in the market will be much higher, and that is exactly what is provided under the concept of apprenticeship. In India, remember certain very important points here. The concept of apprenticeship, very important points, is coming under the Apprenticeship Act of 1961. Remember the name. There is an act passed by the government, Apprenticeship Act of 1961. First point. Second point, right, there are certain eligibility conditions which will basically either rule in or rule out certain people from getting access to programs of apprenticeship. For example, anybody who is of the age of 14 years, at least 14 years, right, can be considered to be provided with apprenticeship program as such. But in certain industries which are considered to be very hazardous, this particular age limit will be increased to 18 years. Is it okay? First point is Apprenticeship Act of 1961. Second one is the age group or age, the condition is 14 years. And the third one is, remember this third very important condition, any establishment which has a 30 or more, is it okay? Any establishment which has 30 or more should have a certain number of apprenticeship every year, is it okay? And what is the range here? 2.5% to 15% of the total employee number should be in the form of apprentices. Now, some of you might be thinking, sir, you told everything without telling what is apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is essentially nothing but a training program. Is it okay? It is essentially nothing but, in a very simple form, a training program wherein a person will be provided or imparted with theoretical knowledge, that is a classroom program, plus right, the practical application of these particular technologies. That is, he will be asked to work for certain number of days or months or years based on the program as such in a particular company or a manufacturing unit, so that you will have a theoretical knowledge as well as a practical knowledge of what this particular job actually requires. That program is called as apprenticeship program, right? So 30 or more employees are there in an establishment, compulsorily or mandatorily 2.5 to 15% of the employee numbers should be in the form of apprentices. But the problem in India is, because we have given the target like this, or we have given a range like this, 2.5 to 15%, most of the times these particular establishments will end up meeting the bare minimum criteria, that is 2.5% to 3%. And when you have these particular establishments meeting the bare minimum criteria, then obviously the number of apprentices programs in India will be limited. And that is the precise reason in India only around 0.26 million apprentices are created or are basically provided with these particular programs annually. Whereas in a country such as China, it is more than 30 million. In Germany, it is more than 3 million, etc. But compared to those particular countries, India creates a very less number of apprentices. Now, to overcome these particular issues, Government of India has taken various reforms over a period of time. For example, apprentices schemes have been launched by various ministries, and that itself has become a problem. What is the problem here? There are two ministries which are involved. One, Ministry of Human Resources and Development, and the second one is Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Is it okay? Right? These particular two ministries individually have schemes to promote apprenticeship programs in India, and as a result of this, there is certain confusion. There are overlapping provisions, and it has led to creation of confusion. Right? So these are some of the issues related to concept of apprenticeship in the Indian economy. And please understand, there is a need for Government of India to promote more and more apprentices programs in India for a very simple reason. For example, under PLI, production linked incentive, government is promoting manufacturing. Right? Under Make in India, government is promoting manufacturing and services sector. You need people to be absorbed more and more in the market by these particular companies. But for them to absorb this, they need people who already have a higher skill set. And if you see what has happened with respect to employability in case of Indian economy, over a period of time, the employability has kept on reducing. For example, have a look at this. As per India Skills Report for the year 2021, it has stated that the employability in case of Indian economy has kept on reducing. In the year 2019, it was 47.38%. In 2020, it has fallen down to 46.2%. And for 2021, right, for 2020, it has fallen down to 46.2. For 21, it has further slid down to 45.9%, which essentially means these particular people, the employability factor, that is essentially do they have the skill sets to be employed in the market, to be absorbed in the labor market, it has actually been reducing in the context of India. So, on one side, government wants to promote more and more manufacturing industries in India, and on the other hand, there is a problem with respect to skilled labor availability in the Indian market. So, that is the reason we can expect, again as per the article, we can expect a certain very important reforms to be announced in the upcoming budget, only focused on revamping the apprenticeship programs in the India. Done? So, this is a discussion. Based on this, a question here. Consider the following statements. All the establishments in India with 10 or more employees must hire apprentices. Underline two terms here, 10 or more employees and must. If you have followed the discussion earlier itself, I have told you, if you have establishments with 30 or more than 30, then it is compulsory for them. It is mandatory for them. Now, some of you will simply say, sir, what about below 30? There is two important points here. First point, if you have 4, right, that is 4 or above 4 till 29 employees, is it okay? If you are an establishment which has employed 4 or above 4 till 29, then it is optional for you. It is not mandatory. It is optional for you to hire the apprentices. And if you are an establishment which has 3 or less than 3 employees, then you cannot employ or you cannot hire the apprentices. These are the two very important points. Please remember this. First statement, wrong. Right, the minimum age requirement for all the types of apprentices is 18 years. Underline the term all the types of apprentices, no. Only if it is a hazardous sector or hazardous industries, then the age requirement will be increased to 18 years. Other sectors or other industries, it will be 14 years itself. So, second statement is also wrong, okay, because they are simply saying all the types of apprentices, not all the types, okay. So, right option will be option D, neither 1 nor 2. Let me go to the next article, textile manufacturing. Now, again, most of the articles in the last 1 week, right, were related to what can you expect from the budget, and in the next 1 week, everything will be discussed, or most of the discussion will be around the concept of budget announcements itself, right. So, let us continue with this particular discussion here. Textile manufacturing. The article basically says that Government of India is considering to launch a new program or a new scheme to promote more and more manufacturing within the textile sector. And the possibility is that this particular new scheme will be named as Textile Technology Development Scheme, TTDS. Textile Technology Development Scheme, TTDS. And the expectation is that this particular scheme will be implemented for a duration of 5 years and will come into force from 1st April 2022. That is, basically it is expected that it will be announced in the budget tomorrow, and right, this will come into force from 1st of April 2022, and then it will be applicable for a period of 5 years. And the total amount of funding that the Government of India has kept aside for this particular scheme is expected to be 16,600 crore rupees. And understand this. This scheme is being discussed in the article for a very simple reason. Already there is one particular scheme, but that particular scheme will be ending on, right, this or at the end of the current financial year itself. And because this particular scheme is going to end, government might implement a new type of a scheme in the name of TTDS. Again, the article also very clearly says that it is expected to be named as TTDS, but in reality when the budget is announced, the name could be something else. It is just being deliberated in the form of TTDS. Now, under TTDS, there are two very important components which are mentioned in the article. What are the two very important components? One, right, basically we will promote manufacturing of textile machinery. Is it okay? We will promote manufacturing of textile machinery, and the second one will be integrated modern facilities. Okay, integrated modern facilities. The second one is straightforward. We want to develop modern facilities to promote more and more manufacturing in the textile sector. What are the first one? Why are they promoting production of textile machinery in the domestic market? Very simple. In the last 5 years, we have imported a lot of these particular machineries which are involved in the textile industries. For example, spindles, right, the needles, the sieving machines, etc. We have imported more than 72,000 crore worth of these particular textile machineries from the international market. So, we want to reduce the import dependence by promoting manufacturing of these particular machineries within the domestic market itself. So, these are the two very important components as per the proposal that has been discussed under this particular scheme as such. Done? So, these are certain important points. Again, we will have to wait and see whether the government will in fact announce this particular scheme in the upcoming budget. Next, there has been one portal which has been set up by Spices Board to promote specifically the exports of spices. Because please understand this, India has a very important position or an important role, dominating role in the international market in terms of promotion of exports of spices, or in terms of exports of spices in the market as such. As per this particular article, we promote or we basically export more than 220 types of spices to around 180 countries around the world. And because we are promoting these particular spices, a lot of revenue is generated by the producers in the domestic market. Now, in the recent times, what has happened is, because of a disruption in the supply chain system, because of the disruption caused by the pandemic, there have been certain cause of concern within this particular sector. And one board, a commodity board which has been set up by the government, is the Spices Board. And this particular Spices Board, basically it's a statutory body. Okay, statutory body has been set up after the passage of a Spices Act. Right, so this particular board, which is a statutory body, has set up the first virtual 3D platform. Remember this, first virtual 3D platform to promote the export of spices from the domestic market. How this particular platform will work? First and foremost, I'll make it very clear to you. This particular platform is a subscriber driven. Is it okay? This is a subscriber driven, means what? Right, this particular platform, it has collected the list of importers, right, of these particular spices that we are exporting. It has a list of India's exporters who are exporting these particular spices. You want to get access to any of these particular importers and exporters list, you need to pay up. Right, and the payment, I checked it, it is somewhere around 20,000 rupees starting, and for UPSC you don't have to be worried about it. It is subscriber driven, first point. Second point, the name of this particular portal is a Spice Exchange. Remember this, name of this particular platform or portal is spiceexchangeindia.com. Second important point. Third, the technology, the platform is essentially a B2B platform. This could be asked in the UPSC prelims. Please be very careful. This particular platform is a B2B platform. What do you mean by B2B? Right, under this, the sales will be done or the transaction will be taking place between one business to another business. Right, generally you will come across the concept of a B2B, B2C, etc. So, this is a B2B platform. And third very important point, this is India's first virtual 3D platform to promote spices exports. Fourth very important point, in this particular platform, the buyers can find the sellers or the sellers can find the buyers, and virtual meeting between both of them is allowed to be taking, or it can take place on this particular platform itself. Is it okay? Virtual meeting between both of them, that is the buyer and seller, is promoted on this particular platform itself. So, these are some of the very important points related to the first virtual 3D platform that has been launched by the Spices Board to promote, right, the spice exports from India. Now, based on these particular points that I have discussed so far, I have given one question here. Consider the following statements regarding Spice Exchange India portal. First one, it is the first virtual platform for promotion of a spice exports. Definitely true. It is a B2B platform. Yes. I have discussed both of these particular points. Both of the points are true. Right option will be option C, both. Let me go to the next article. Government of India very recently has come out with a policy document, very, very important for UPSC, especially prelims as well as mains. Follow the discussion very carefully. Government very recently has come out with a policy document to promote the production of electronics in India. Remember this, the policy document wants to promote more and more production of electronics in India, first point. And second point, it also wants to promote exports of these particular electronic products. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. As per this particular policy document or vision document, they want to promote the production of electronic products in India. As per various documents and even the document provided by the government itself, the overall production or the domestic production of electronics in India is to the tune of around $74 billion. Is it okay? $74 billion. And we want to increase it as per this particular vision document. We want to increase this to $300 billion by 25-26. Is it okay? We want to increase this from $74 billion to $300 billion by 25-26. That's the first very, very important point. Remember this. Second very important point. Out of these particular electronic production which takes place in the domestic market, highest amount of a production as per this particular vision document is in the form of mobile phones. Is it okay? Is in the form of mobile manufacturing. Around $30 billion worth of a domestic manufacturing actually comes from mobile manufacturing itself. Remember this could be asked in the UPSC prelims. Now, last week I discussed certain scheme which has been launched by the government. For example, not the scheme, essentially I discussed one issue related to production linked incentive, right? That is, I stated that on one side government wants to promote the production of a mobile manufacturing in India, which is covered under PLI, but on the other hand government is also imposing higher import duties on various raw materials or intermediary goods which are used for manufacturing of this particular mobile phone, which I said is counterproductive. I was going through the comments and there was one question, sir, if government imposes a higher import duty, the cost of manufacturing of mobile increases. Now the company will have to sell this particular product at a higher price in the market. So he is going to generate more sales. More sales means more incentives. Theoretically true, but the problem here is this. Have a look at this. When the prices of these particular mobile phones will start increasing in the market, what do you think will happen to demand? Right? There will be a certain effect on the demand. That's the first problem. Second very important problem, which is much more concerning, is we not only produce these particular mobile phones to sell in the domestic market, we also want to export this. Is it okay? We also want to export this. And you might be thinking, sir, why are we discussing all of this in this article? There is a reason. What is the reason? Right, out of this particular $300 billion, as per this particular vision document, the total amount of exports targeted are 40% of this. That is 120 billion. Right now, the electronic exports that we do from India to the rest of the world is just over 10 billion. So, from 10 billion, we want to increase it to 120 billion. And as per this particular vision document, around 48% of these particular exports, is that okay? Around 48% of these particular exports are supposed to be mobile phones. Is it okay? Are supposed to be mobile phones, right? Which essentially means we want to export, right, a huge amount of mobile phones from India to the external market. Gone are the days where we would actually import these particular mobile phones. Now we want to promote the export of these particular mobile phones. And if the mobile phones cost of production is higher, which in fact in India is true, then basically these particular mobile phones in the international market will not be very competitive compared to, let's say, mobile phones which are manufactured by China, Taiwan, etc. Done? So these are some of the very, very important points with respect to this particular vision document that has been proposed by the government of India to promote more and more production as well as exports of electronic products from India. Now, based on this discussion, I have given a question here. Which of the following segments within the electronic manufacturing is the highest in terms of production value in the domestic market? Right? I consider this particular question is difficult for a very simple reason. Generally, you don't come across this kind of a data in the newspaper. This data essentially I have taken from the vision document of the Government of India itself, right? And there is no guarantee that UPSC will not ask you this kind of a question. It can simply throw this kind of a googly at you. So please be prepared for these kind of questions. So the right answer for this particular question is option A. But let's go beyond that. Let's go beyond that. Out of this particular $74 billion of electronic production, right, most of the production actually comes from the mobile phones itself. But what about these industrial electronics, consumer electronics or electronic components? These are second, third and fourth position respectively. Is it okay? These are in second, third and fourth position respectively in terms of the value of production, right, in the domestic market. Most of the production actually comes from the mobile manufacturer, around $30 billion. Around $10.5 billion comes from industrial electronics. Consumer electronics comes at around $10 billion and around $9.5 to $10 billion is electronic components as far as 2020 year is concerned and as far as this particular vision document is concerned. Right. So, these are some of the very, very important points related to this. Please be very, very careful. Done. Next, certain update related to rooftop solar. Okay. Next, two articles are there. One is related to rooftop solar and another related to India becoming one of the largest exporter of Gherkin. Now, in the last couple of weeks, we have kept on discussing the idea of a rooftop solar. So, I will not discuss rooftop solar here. I will just give you updates. What are the important points here? Right, in case of rooftop solar, certain very important changes have been announced by the government. What is the reason? Reason is very simple. Government wants to have 4 gigawatts of production capacity from households or domestic rooftop solar as such. 4 gigawatts from domestic households or domestic rooftop solar. Out of this, right, only around, right, have a look at this, 1.3 gigawatts of capacity has been installed. Although more than 2 gigawatts of production capacity has been approved, only 1.3 gigawatts right, of production capacity has been implemented so far. What is the issue? What is the concern here? Some of the concerns are that in most of the states there is no proper policy for providing the subsidies, right, for the people or for the households which have installed a solar rooftop. And there are issues even with respect to implementation of net metering policy in the domestic market. So, to overcome these particular issues, now the government has made certain very important changes in the rooftop solar program. What are the important changes? Focus on the changes here. First one, earlier the policy was that the DISCOM, that is a distribution company, will have a list of the suppliers of rooftop solar. Is it okay? I will use the short form now, RTS. RTS stands for rooftop solar. So, earlier the DISCOM used to have the suppliers of rooftop solar, and if you want to install this particular rooftop solar on your house, you are supposed to choose from this particular list of suppliers only. Is it okay? Now Government of India says no, that will not be the case. If you want to choose any other supplier in the market, yes, you can simply choose, right, the rooftop solar equipment from this particular supplier. You don't have to be bound by this particular list which is given by the DISCOM. First very important change. Now some of you might be thinking, sir, what will happen because of that? Right? I'll choose from some other supplier in the market. What is the outcome? What is the impact of this? It is expected that because of this, competition will increase. Second, participation of suppliers will increase. And the third, customers can choose the supplier now. Have you understand this? I as a customer should be given the choice, right, as to who should supply this particular rooftop solar equipment to me. Earlier that was not the situation. Now that particular situation has been addressed. That's the first very important change. Second, now you can self-install this particular equipment. Earlier, right, you purchase the equipment, you will have to hire a professional, right, and only then the government used to provide subsidy to you. Now government simply says, no, you don't have to hire a professional. You have purchased the equipment. You want to self-install the equipment? Yes, definitely. Go ahead, do it. But the problem earlier was this. Have a look at this. You will install the rooftop solar by yourself, then the government would not simply provide you any kind of a subsidy. Now government simply says, you can self-install this particular rooftop solar equipment, take the photograph of this, send it to the respective DISCOM of your region, then next within 15 days, the net metering has to be installed. Is it okay? I'll repeat the process here again, understand this. First one, you don't have to purchase this particular rooftop solar equipment only from the seller. No, not required. You can get it from any seller even if it is not there in the DISCOM approved list. Second, you want to self-install this particular rooftop solar equipment? Go ahead, install it. Take the photograph, send it to the DISCOM, and next within 15 days, the net metering has to be installed. Okay, that is the second very important change. And the third one, any amount of a subsidy, is it okay? Any amount of a subsidy now will be transferred into the bank account of the customer, that is the person on whose house this particular rooftop solar equipment has been installed. So within 30 days, within the next 30 days, any amount of a subsidy that is supposed to receive will be transferred into the bank account of this particular beneficiary. So these are the three very important changes that the government very recently has announced to promote more and more production or let's say installation of rooftop solar equipments. Right? Already mentioned, this is expected to promote competition, give choice to the customer, right? Make it more mandatory for the DISCOMs to provide net metering connection, and will ensure that the customers will be provided with the amount of a subsidy. Again, the subsidy varies based on the installed capacity, the subsidy amount will vary, right? So the amount of subsidy will be given to the customer or the beneficiary within the limited amount of time. So these are some of the very important changes that have been announced by the government in the context of rooftop solar program. Now the final article, nothing much to discuss here, just an updated information. Okay, that is Gherkin. There is a vegetable by the name of Gherkin. India has become the largest exporter of this particular vegetable. Remember this, right? It is nothing but a cucumber. Okay, a variety of a cucumber, Gherkin. So India has basically accounted for around 15% of total global production of this particular vegetable, and it has exported more than 2.2 metric tons or more than 2.2 lakh metric tons. Just my correction, 2.2 lakh metric tons of this particular product to of the value of more than 220 million has been exported by India in this particular year. As a result of this particular data, India has become the largest Gherkin exporter in the international market. Now, will UPSC ask you about this particular data? No, I don't think so. UPSC will go to that particular level. But can UPSC ask you about this particular product as such, as a part of exported products from India? Definitely yes. Right? It can ask you about a vegetation about this. It can ask you about right, what kind of a product is this, in which season it is cultivated, to which countries we export, what is the value of this, etc. These are the areas generally where UPSC might focus and raise questions on this. Done? So this is just a factual information, nothing much has been provided in the article related to this, and from economics point of view, this is more than sufficient. Again, under different subjects such as geography, definitely yes, you will have to read much more about this because that is there in the newspapers. So this is the basic discussion I wanted to have related to this particular export from India. So these are the various articles as well as the questions related to these particular articles for this particular week as such. If you like this particular initiative, hit the like button, provide your valuable comments in the section below, and if you have not yet subscribed to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS, kindly subscribe to it now. Thank you, have a great day.